Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Welcome to episode 24 of the Fly Route Podcast. I am your host, Anthony, a.k.a. Tony Playboy, a.k.a. League of Zion, and I'm joined here by one of my best friends, DeMarcus, a.k.a. Nigga Marcus. You got any AKAs today?
Unfortunately, I do. This is going to be a bit of a sad one, and it's Ahmaud Arbery. That could have been me. We just passed the 1 year anniversary of it. I occasionally might go for a run or walk around the neighborhood. I think it's important to remember what happened. And it's sad, but it could be any of us any day.
I was just start the pod on the darkest note?
Well, so kind of on my mind, I was actually reading a news article. We live in Dallas. Right down the street from us, maybe 10 minutes away in Plano, there was a 18-year-old black kid arrested by the police walking home the first night of the snowstorm. Mm-hmm. He said, "I'm good, let me walk home." They said, walking in the street. He said, "My bad, I'm sorry, can I go?" They were like, "Why are you resisting?" Next thing you know, he's arrested. And the messed up part is he reminds me of my little brother, the way he looks. And so that has been on my mind. And so I think it's never not a good time to mention what's happened.
No. This one was actually not a good time. You could have used any other. You could have used any other point in time during the podcast. You have a whole
this
platform.
Felt right.
You had a whole. You have a whole platform, my nigga.
I have other stuff.
Whole platform, right? All right. Look, we've been doing Fly Route Black History Month Facts of the Week, and this week's Fact of the Week is actually something way more recent than all our other ones. And recently, today actually, I got the opportunity to be in a conversation with Jonathan Bean. And Jonathan Bean is this week's Fly Route Black History Month Fact of the Week. Jonathan Bean is the first NFL Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. Up to this point, the NFL had never had one and had no diversity personnel outside of their HR department prior to this. I was able to be part of a larger conversation with him. He covered a lot of interesting things such as the Rooney Rule and initiatives to increase diversity in the NFL. And for those of you that are not familiar with the Rooney Rule, it's the rule that requires 2 minority external candidates to be considered for every head coaching position, 1 for every coordinator position, and 1 for every general manager. And a lot of this conversation was underwhelming to me at first, until he was actually quite honest. He's like, we have this in place. It is good. It has created a lot of change that we can see. And he made sure to say that this, however, is not enough. He said that there's a disconnect in the NFL currently between the opportunities and the best talent available to be hired. He said that the research shows that people like to hire people that look like them. Mm-hmm. And that this is a top-down issue that, interestingly enough, he does not feel like the NFL has a lot of control over, because the owners are all individual entities that functionally run individual organizations.
They do.
Right? And then they hire general managers that look like them. Mm-hmm. And then the general managers hire coaches that look like them. And he is saying that the comfortability that this creates does not actually create the best decision making and talent being hired in the NFL. He said it was a goal of his to disrupt that.
That's a great goal to have. It's the basic case for diversity. Diversity makes decision making in organizations better. Having more diverse thoughts means that the ones that come out on the conclusion have been tried and tested against other kinds of ideas that are much, much different. So it's had to prove itself to be the best. And for many of these black candidates, they have proven themselves to be the best candidate available, but have not quite gotten through because the room is not diverse enough to accept their ideas, because they are a little bit different.
2 fun facts from this conversation is, 1, he made a strident effort to talk about the Bucs staff as being one of the largest proofs of why diversity actually creates success. the Bucks have 2 female coaches on their staff. Their coordinators are both black. Like, to be fair, yes. And they just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with Bruce Arians, who he is as a head coach, who he decides to bring in. Because obviously, no head coach is going to accept having women on their staff unless they approve of it. Head coaches either, I think the famous quote from Jimmy Johnson is, they either allow something to happen or they want it to happen. There's usually nothing in between. And so for him to have them on his staff, that shows us a lot about him. The unfortunate downside is a lot of the guys in head coaching jobs are not like him. They call their buddies, their friends. They look deep down in the darkest crevices of the league to find someone who's not black. We've seen this with a lot of jobs the past 2 years that Eric Bieniemy should have gotten. We've seen this in the NBA recently with the Timberwolves. Mm-hmm. And so this is a common problem. There's never enough being done on any issue of race, equity, inclusion, diversity, etc. in this country. We can always do more. And that's why I had to use my little platform here to do my part, do a little bit more.
All right. And the second and more interesting one is, did you know that NFL employees aren't allowed to do fantasy football?
That makes sense, though.
Yeah.
I did not know that or think about that, but it makes sense.
Yeah, that one was big for me. They are not allowed to do fantasy football. So this is a shout out to Jonathan Bean. I thought this conversation was actually great. And he is our Fly Route Black History Month Fact of the Week. We have an exciting show for you all today. We are going to give you the tee off on Isaiah Wilson, last year's first round pick for the Tennessee Titans, who now seems to be finding his way out of the league. Another iteration of our buy segment, where we let you know whether we're going to buy or sell on NBA teams going into All-Star break. We're going to give you the fly route for J.J. Watt, now that he is a free agent, testing the waters and letting us know where he's going to go. And we're going to play a little game of Tag Your It. This week, the franchise tag is now available, as well as the transition tag for NFL teams. And we're going to talk about some of the most likely candidates to be tagged, as well as giving a big ballers bouquet to some people that are helping the people of Houston, even though the people of Houston might have said some pretty incendiary things about them this year. Mm-hmm. As we give this bouquet to James Harden. Welcome to the tee off.
Ooh, spill that tea, sis.
This is how we like to start our show off. We like to spill some tea on our favorite athletes and some of the crazy situations they get themselves into. Today's tee off subject is Isaiah Wilson. Isaiah Wilson is super young. He was the 29th pick in the draft last year for the Titans and already seems to be working his way out of the league. For reference, to tell you how young this person is, he was born in 1999. How old did that make you feel?
Surprisingly old. And it's not like I was born that much earlier. I mean, I'm a 90s baby, but 99, you might have just been born 2000.
Cash Money was taking over where he was born.
99, 2000. Yeah, you can't remember that.
Look, he is an offensive tackle. He only played 2 years in college for Georgia. He was a 5-star recruit out of high school, one of the top 15 players ranked in the entire nation at that time. Redshirted his first year, started his second year, went straight to the league, right? First round pick, showed a ton of talent, clearly. And Wilson saw almost no action in the NFL his entire first year.
That's great.
How is that great?
It almost never happens nowadays. It allows players to learn and grow, learn the playbook, get in the NFL weight room. What?
Nigga, we on the tee off. You think that's what he did?
Obviously not.
Okay.
I'm just saying he had the time and space to do that, but apparently he's not mature enough to handle time and space.
Look, let's start pretty early, right? He gets drafted in April. right? That's when the draft happens.
Mm-hmm.
By August, Wilson is in a confrontation with the police at Tennessee State University. At this point in time, Tennessee State University is closed to the public. There are no visitors allowed. He is caught in off-campus apartments at a house party that was wild enough that it drew the attention of the campus police. Now, I've thrown house parties in small state schools. In general, it is pretty difficult for you to draw the attention of the police in the way that they did. But look, here's what happens. Police come through. Everybody starts running. You know, someone yells, 12 here, and everybody takes off, right?
No question.
He's upstairs on the second floor, so you probably fucked. And the police get up there, and he runs to the balcony and almost tries to jump off the second floor balcony to evade the police. This nigga is 6'6" and 351 pounds.
That's a large ass man hanging from the balcony.
Yeah, nigga.
Better watch them ankles.
Bruh, that would void his NFL contract if he got hurt in there.
Hurt jumping off a balcony? Absolutely.
Yes. That would void his NFL contract. So, but look, he decides not to jump. That's probably the only good decision he makes that year. He decides not to jump. The police are surprisingly reasonable about it. They give him like a trespassing warning. Not even a citation. They give him a warning for trespassing. A bunch of people at the party face like drug charges, runaway violations, and a whole other things. But they're like, look, you play for the Titans, player? Look, all right, it's cool. TMC's going to grab a hold of this, but we just going to let you off with a warning, my guy. And when this happens, it's like, here's the funny thing. He was already on the COVID list in July. Right? So he missed a lot of training camp because he was on the COVID list. And then proceed
to be at a house party.
In August, yes.
It's just so sad. It's so sad.
By September, he is placed on the COVID list for a second time. And weirdly enough, he was not reactivated off the list for 5 weeks.
How's that weird?
Because think about Alvin Kamara. He was on the COVID list in like week 16, 15, and played in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's a great player.
So it's not like the COVID protocols of the NFL were so stringent that for some reason he could not be activated for 5 weeks, right? Alvin Kamara was barely gone for 2.
No, it's likely the team just didn't want him around.
Lamar missed only like 1 week.
It was a de facto form of punishment.
Exactly. So why was he de facto punished, DeMarcus?
Well, I mean, you got to be doing something wrong to be on the COVID list twice and within 3 months and have gotten a citation from the police or a warning from the police at a university at a house party. I don't even think he's 21 yet. So you're already an NFL player. I'm sure you could have had your own party with alcohol and no one would have gotten
with
the police
people
called.
Of legal age.
Absolutely correct. I'm sure you get a signing bonus when you sign your contract, so I'm sure he had money. He's a first-round draft pick.
He's a first-round draft pick. I'm pretty sure he was due $11 million at signing because you're a first-round draft pick. But you would think it might be all of those other things.
Mm-hmm.
But wait.
There's more.
There's more.
Like a bad infomercial.
Mm-hmm. On September 11th, Wilson was charged with a DUI when first off, he drives a Dodge Challenger.
Of course.
In his Dodge Challenger, he was reportedly doing donuts while drunk and crashed into a concrete wall.
Say he's from Georgia, right?
He went to college in Georgia.
I want to know where he's from. He's from Georgia. This makes perfect sense.
I think he's actually from Brooklyn.
Really?
I think he went to like Brooklyn Polytech or something.
But the being in the Challenger, drunk, doing donuts and crashing it, he's not the first, the 10th, the 15th, the 100th, or the last person to do that.
And weirdly enough, he blows like a .107.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The legal limit is a .08 in Tennessee. Remember, this nigga is 351 pounds.
So he had probably like a handle of jack or something.
Yeah,
He
he's
went
not a
hard.
small nigga to blow that.
I understand. I understand.
He ain't small enough to blow that without drinking. However, he told the police he only had 2 margaritas.
Oh, he's such a bad liar. Were they straight tequila?
He said, I've only had 2 margaritas. Look, you can't blow a .107 with two
margaritas at 350. No. No.
Now, they like do the sobriety field test. He fails that. He blows. He fails that. And obviously he gets charged with the DUI. This is part of the reason why they're like, all right, you got to step away for 5 weeks. We also know the way the NFL's policy on this works is once he gets charged, another suspension is coming down on him for the following season. He had a court date in October. It was pushed to like the week before the Super Bowl. And then it was pushed one more time. So he hasn't even
been to court on this yet.
Been to court on this. And of course, he will then be suspended again afterwards. So far, so good?
Everything's going bad, but tell me there's more.
There's more. After that, they finally let him come back to the team in October, and then he just starts skipping practice. He's like, I got headaches. That's it. I got headaches. Can't come.
Not a migraine.
Not
just
like
a headache.
Not like I can't. Not like I have a headache. I'll be there, but I can't participate. I might be able to because think about it. Practice is more than just a physical activity.
It's a lot of meetings.
A lot of it is meetings, film, etc. Like I get it. You might be dealing with some shit. You might not be able to go full pads, all that shit. He just does not show up. I got headaches from multiple practices. Fast forward a month later, we're in November. He finally makes his debut in November. But he only plays like 4 snaps. He only plays the special team snaps and the victory formation snaps. And now I want you to understand, those were his only snaps in the NFL that entire season.
I thought maybe you meant he got in like week 17 and played like a half or...
Those were his only snaps in the NFL that season.
That is kind of surprising even for a first-round draft pick because even if they are somewhat pessimistic about you initially, having you in the building for 4 or 5 months, working out, watching film, practicing, they usually build some faith in a first-round draft pick who went to Georgia and so is talented, has to have been talented.
I hear there's no doubts about his talent and his ability to perform.
And so it's all mental then.
It's all like DUIs, getting suspended, on the COVID list twice, at a party. By December 5th, they've suspended him for violating team rules. By December 9th, he is put on the reserve non-football illness list and they end his season.
At this point, that's all it is. It's a decision. Because
he made his decision.
After the first, second, third thing, they're going to give a first-round draft pick as many chances as there are to get. But at a certain point, you're worth too much trouble for your talent, and it doesn't matter how talented you are, you won't be in the NFL for very long. And he has 3 years left on his deal. But first-round draft picks now, because of the rookie slotting, especially at the end of the first round, are not that bad at all. And so they could cut him. They'll have dead money. They'll have lost the first-round draft pick. But if it means your team is better and more focused, then you do it. And so I think he probably has a suspension coming, probably a lengthy one this upcoming season. I would expect at least 5 games. And I would think that if he gets it together, he'll be fine. But if he has another year where he has any incidents, he may not make it through year 2.
Well, yesterday he said, I'm done with football as a Titan on Twitter.
What? I'm very, very confused. The team has obviously done everything they can for him.
He says he's done with football as a Titan. And according to sources, Buck Riesling had an article for like A to Z Tennessee or some shit. And he said apparently his birthday was on the 12th. And the Titans Twitter page did not wish him happy birthday like they do for all the other players. And he felt slighted by that, which has soured the relationship.
I don't have words.
I shit you not, nigga. I shit you not. A credible reporter said that he has sources saying that they didn't wish him a happy birthday on the Twitter So now he feels slighted by the team. Yes.
Even if this was intentional by the team, even if it was, it makes sense. You have been a troublemaking child, basically, for the better part of a year. Why would I give you any praise? Even if it's your birthday. Like, if you're a badass kid, you're 12 or whatever, you run around, I don't know, let's say you
try to jump off balconies.
Get
DUIs.
You get caught drinking.
Don't go to practice.
You skipping school. Whatever it is. Let's say you're doing all that and your birthday comes up. Do you think you getting anything? You think there's going to be a party?
He expected at least a tweet.
Do you think there's going to be a cake?
Less than 140 characters.
Do you think they're going to be waking you up saying happy birthday?
That's actually what he expected.
Nah, you've been the problem child. You don't get that kind of treatment.
Okay. Well, that was your tee off.
Ooh, spill that tea, sis. Spill that tea, sis. Y'all is Tony Playboy.
All right, we are going to get into our bye segment.
Bye?
This is where we let you know whether we are going to buy or sell stock in the NBA franchises and some key players going into All-Star Weekend. Take us away, DeMarcus.
So we're going to start in Brooklyn.
All right.
The Nets have been killing it lately. They're on a 6-game winning streak. They swept the entire Pacific Division on their road trip. Are you buying or selling the Nets?
I mean, I'm buying the Nets, but to be fair, I bought the Nets when y'all were all selling. I told you this is a conference finals team at the very least. I predicted them to play Philly. I'm still sitting on that prediction. And the biggest part about this 6-game winning streak is they did most of it without KD.
Mm-hmm.
Think about adding that. Everybody's been like, oh, the Nets can't play defense, blah, blah. Their defense has shot up a ton over that 6-game win streak. And I'm willing to make a way too early prediction, right? Andre Roberson. They signed him. He hasn't played very many minutes. He's only played garbage time minutes. He's getting his legs back under him, getting back into shape for the season. But I've seen the flashes that let me know he still has it as a top-tier defender in the league. Like, I believe he still has it. So I think he's going to bolster the defense a ton. We know that this is not even their final form. I will say it one more time. This is not even their final form.
You think this is Dragon Ball Z?
Nigga, they are about to go Super Saiyan Blue on you niggas. Fuck you me. Yes.
Okay, maybe Super Saiyan. Slow your roll.
They went Super Saiyan when they got Harden.
I think it makes sense. I'm with you on it.
Okay.
So next, we're going to go a little bit further north up to Boston. The Celtics have been without Marcus Smart due to a calf strain since late January. He's expected to miss time every game up until the All-Star break. They've been 4-11 in the games that he's not played. Buying or selling the Boston Celtics?
I'm selling the Celtics, but I've also never been too hot on the Celtics. I think that this isn't the team people thought they were. They're missing Gordon Hayward a ton. And I really feel like they'd rather have Gordon than Kemba right now. And isn't it ironic that MJ gave Gordon Hayward the contract he wouldn't give Kemba?
It is. I just don't think MJ was ever in love with Kemba as a point guard, but it is ironic. I am very concerned about Boston. I think they have the talent to pull it out. Between Tatum and Brown, they need to figure it out.
Pull it out to where?
Conference finals again, maybe?
Fuck out of here.
That seems to be their ceiling.
Fuck out of here.
I won't eliminate that possibility.
If that's where we're setting the marker, I am selling the fuck out of this shit. No way in hell the Boston Celtics get to the conference finals this year.
Okay. All right. So now we got to turn to the Celtics' arch rivals of all time, the Los Angeles Lakers. They, as we talked about last week, have been without AD due to some tendonitis in his Achilles and a calf strain. Calf strains seem to be going around.
I wonder why.
And so they're going to be without AD up until the All-Star break, but they've also been without Dennis Schroeder, who is a great guard coming in for them recently this past offseason and have not looked great. LeBron's been doing his thing, but they have not been winning. And right now, I believe they sit at 3rd in the West.
Yes.
Buying or selling the Lakers?
I am holding. Like, look, the Lakers are a LeBron-led team. How many times, like, we ain't even seen playoff Bron yet.
The 0 Dark 30?
Yeah. Look, they are going to get into the playoffs. Yes. At that point, it's all fair game. Right? I don't know more than 2 teams that you think have above a puncher's chance against the Lakers in the West.
No. Not more than 2.
Clippers and who?
Possibly the Suns if everything goes right.
No, you should be saying the Jazz because they're the best team in basketball right now.
I'm not ready to go there yet.
They are statistically the best team in basketball.
I agree with that. Statistically on paper,
right?
I am not ready to go there yet.
But I'm just saying, puncher's chance against the Lakers. So, like, hold your Lakers stock. Do not panic. They are going to make some more moves, obviously, because even though they've retooled their roster, it isn't exactly what they like. Marc Gasol is what I said he was, which is just like he can play some defense. He'll be in the right spots. He can pass, but he ain't dominating shit no more. And they waived Quinn Cook. They're going to make some changes to the end of their bench. They're going to participate in the buyout market. We'll see what happens.
Blake?
If Blake gets bought out. I mean, yeah, sure. I'd give, yeah, sure. Let me give back like $50 million to the city of Detroit.
I'm sure a lot of people will trade $50 million for a ring.
A chance at a ring, not a ring guaranteed.
Oh, he's not signing with the Warriors, but yes.
Okay, so that's all I'm saying is I say hold your Lakers stock. Do not panic. It's LeBron. As he said many times in the East, it's going to be a tough out 4 times for us no matter what seed we are.
Okay. Next thing I want to talk about are a couple players. So we have AD and we have Joel Embiid. So 2 big men. One case, Embiid is probably having his best season ever.
He is the MVP of the NBA.
The Sixers are looking great. AD was playing pretty well. He got his confidence.
No, he wasn't. You niggas is gas. AD's in this segment because I just wanted to say, I told you all to sell your AD stock before the season started.
Oh, well, no one was going to do that. It was up because of the championship.
I did. I told y'all this nigga was not a top 5 player in the NBA. You remember this?
Oh, yeah, we had this conversation. We both agreed with that, I believe. Everyone, in fact, on our social media, everyone out there came for us and said...
They came for me. You had him in there.
Did I? Was he 5 for mine?
Yes, he was.
Oh.
Yes, he was. You took the easy way out, nigga. And I look, he's been hurt a lot. I will grant you that. But even when he played, he was bad this season. He was below his standard for being an offensive player.
That's true.
In all of his seasons, his defense was not up to par. AD is overrated right now. It's not that he's not good. It's not that he's not even great. Y'all just gassed him too much off winning that chip like he ain't played next to LeBron.
I think that's a big part of it, but I think, a follow-up question, do you think that the injuries are actually a bigger part of it than we knew? Because it sounds like the tendonitis in the Achilles was not at all new. It had been bothering him a while before it was on the injury report, and then it escalated to him being out for games after he got the calf strain.
So I think he was healthy at first. Then he had to miss a game here and there. They were like load managing him. Then he came back and he re-aggravated it, right? But like we played like what, almost 40 games in the NBA this year?
Almost half the season.
Right? And for those first 20, he had no issues. It's the back half of that 20 that he started like missing games here and there. Then obviously re-aggravating it and missing the stretch afterwards. Those first 20 games, AD looked subpar to his standards.
Okay.
Ben told y'all to sell that shit. I'm feeling hot about that. but buy Heat stock. Buy Miami Heat stock because Jimmy Butler is that nigga. Look, they went 8-5 since he's came back, which is huge. They have not played their entire roster for more than half the season, right? Their winning percentage is absurd when both Jimmy and Tyler play, which is a really small subset of the games. This team is going to make their way back up into the playoffs. I think they're the 10th seed right now. And remember, they were the 5th seed last year, making it to the finals. It wasn't like they dominated the league in the regular season by any means whatsoever.
I will buy Heat stock. I think they were a solid team last year who had some upsets in the playoffs. I'm not sure they'll get those upsets this year, but I think they will be back in the mix of the playoffs. In the East right now, there's only 3 games separating, I think, the 11th seed from the 5th seed. So easily could be back in that same position in the playoffs this year.
All right. I got a good one for you. This is a team that I was super down on early in the season. The Tampa Bay Raptors?
Toronto?
That's not where they play.
They're the Toronto Raptors.
That's not where they play. Look, there's some magic going on down in Florida.
I don't think so. I don't think it's so. I would sell if you bought stock, if you bought into whatever hype they've been selling you the past. If you bought the dream they sold, I'm sorry.
They've won 7 of their last 10.
I don't care. Sell. This team is not built to do well long term. They're started off the season very, very poor, like historically 10. Poor. They have shown bright spots as of late, but I don't think they can keep this up. There a lot of trade rumors with their younger players, their stars. Lowry is old.
I think that's the piece that they would move. They're not moving FEV. They're not moving Siakam. No. They're not moving Boucher. Like, I've been saying trade Lowry actually for like 3 months.
Well, I think he's going to, and hold me to this, I think he's going to break down at any moment now.
That's all the more reason to trade
him.
Yeah,
they certainly
should. Make that Danny Ainge move.
But either way, I'm selling any Raptors stock. Not buying it.
Okay, how about the Suns? 4th in the West, and Booker and Paul look like everything advertised as a duo in the backcourt.
So I'll buy this. They are 4th in the West. There's a decent amount of separation. There's like 3 or 4 games in the West, which is a big deal, between them and the 6, 7, 8 seeds. They're only a couple games behind the Lakers and Clippers for the 2 and 3 seeds. I'm buying it. I can easily see them continue to be the 4th seed the rest of the season, or possibly getting as high as 2, depending on how injuries and other things break for the Clippers and Lakers. I'm buying it.
Okay, high as 2. That was okay. Yo, that one kind of shook me. That was, I'm not gonna lie.
It's true though. Like,
that kind of shook me. Like, okay.
Everything on paper, we're more than halfway through the season. They're the 4th seed, only a couple games out of the 2nd seed, 3 or 4 games out of 6, 7, 8, which means they're, even if they go on a losing streak, they're still in it. I'll buy it.
Okay. All right. I actually want to skip down to San Antonio. The Spurs are 16 and 11, the 6th seed in the West. Are you buying or are you selling?
So for the Spurs, I'm going to sell. So though they are the 6th seed, the 7, 8, 9 are right behind them. I think it's less than 3 games overall. Those teams are I believe it's the Warriors, the Mavericks, and there's one other team I can't remember.
Is it the Pelicans?
No, it's not the Pelicans. It's not. It's
Mavericks.
I said Mavs. Mavs, Warriors, and someone else. Either way, though, the teams that are behind the Spurs right now in the Western Conference standings are all teams that have lots of talent but have not played up to that talent most of the year and could easily get on a run and leapfrog them in the playoff standings with there being such a small margin right now. And so I could easily say sell. I don't think they're going to hold this position. I don't think that DeMar DeRozan and Aldridge are built for winning the way that basketball is played in the West right now and at the top of the East.
Are you saying the Spurs are not a playoff team? Are you trying to say they're only a play-in team? Like,
I think they could be a play-in team.
Like, they're the 6th seed right now, and they didn't make the playoffs last year. So where's the buy point for the Spurs right now? What's your target? What do you think they can accomplish?
It would be make the playoffs. And right now I'm not sure they do that. I think they could be a play-in team. It'll be interesting. Pop's a great coach. They've got solid players, but they're more just pure talented teams. And in that play-in, sometimes somebody gets hot. It could be your last night.
Like, Pop has only not made the playoffs like once in the last 20 years.
It was last year.
Yeah. I believe that winners win. Pop is a winner. And I have almost unwavering faith in the Spurs to make the playoffs this year.
Okay.
All right. Last but not least, the Milwaukee Bucks. They've been missing Drew Holiday a lot. He has not played the last 8 games due to being on the COVID list, right? And in those 8 games, they've only won 3.
Mm-hmm.
Are you buying or selling on the Bucks?
I'll continue to hold my Bucks stock. I'm not going to sell. I think people are overreacting. Giannis had a great quote about this earlier, I think this week or last week. Basically said, don't panic. There are lots of tweaks that have been made to the roster and the schemes and the strategies of this team the past year after they had 2 consecutive years of regular season success and MVPs for Giannis, but hit a wall in the playoffs. There are lots of areas to improve upon, but I am not unsure the Bucks can't do it. I think the only issue that will still be here in the playoffs is Giannis' inability to shoot free throws. Outside of that, I think every other problem can be fixed by getting Holiday back healthy and some time with this team. And I think they are high enough up in the Eastern Conference standings that they will have no problem making the playoffs.
Yes, of course.
And so it's just a matter of what's the ceiling there. I think by it, I think they can easily be a second-round team again.
That's the important thing. A second-round team?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we look at the East. We talked about this before. We've got the 76ers, the Nets, obviously the 2 best teams. We have other teams who could be there, like Boston. We have teams who've been playing well in the East that are lower in the standings. And so, yeah, I think a second-round team. That's what they were last year.
Okay.
I'd have to see them be better in the regular season with all the new players and adjustments to be even any higher on them.
I'm not saying you're wrong, right? Like, you remember when you said Giannis could challenge to get to the Eastern Conference Finals and possible, and I was like, he can't hit a mid-range shot, he can't hit an outside shot, and he's only effective right next to the basket, and he can't hit free throws. I've been very bearish on the Bucks for a while. I just am surprised. I'm interested to see how that goes for Giannis. They don't have a lot of flexibility or room to make any changes. He just re-upped.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Fly out.
It's a Playboy affair.
Let's get into the fly route for today. J.J. Watt, another mass exodus person from Houston. I would have said players, but even the
coaches,
front office,
GMs, everybody.
Everybody's out, right? So J.J. Watt is a free agent, taking his time, looking through his options. People have tried to rush him, and he was like, it takes me an hour to pick a restaurant on DoorDash.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking my time. All right. So I want to know, what is the fly route for J.J. Watt?
So this is an interesting situation for a lot of reasons. J.J. is a well-known player for several years. 3 or 4 years ago, he was the best defensive player ever. We talked about J.J. Watt the same way we talk about Aaron Donald now.
Agreed.
It is absolutely the same level. Everyone, retired players, current players, young people, everybody could see the talent. He's had some injuries, both upper body and lower body, the past 3 seasons. He played, I believe, all 16 games in 2020, but that was his first time doing that in 4 or 5 years.
He's only done it twice since 2015.
Right, and so he's lost a lot of his explosion. And as a defensive lineman, especially someone on the edge, that is so important. The ability to get off the line and get by your guy is super important. And with some of that explosion, you lose some power too. If you can't surprise them, the power that you have is not going to be as effective. And so I believe for JJ Watt, he needs to go to a team that already has other established pass rushers. He can't be the guy anymore. He can't be the number one option. He can either be the second guy on the other side, or he can add depth to a team that already has lots of people on the D-line. And so that's why I think the fly route for a free agent, JJ Watt, is the Cleveland Browns. So, may surprise you a bit, but I think it's the perfect fit. Number one, he gets to play in the same division as his brother. They get to play against each other twice a year. They would live close enough to be able to see each other. I think that has a huge influence on JJ Watt. Family is huge for them. That means their parents will be able to come to more games, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think the other thing is Cleveland already has established defensive line players. Most importantly, Myles Garrett, who was an absolute beast last season, who is certainly a top 5 edge rusher in this league. And having someone like JJ back him up or be on the other side from him is really, really good. He's still a big enough name to garner respect and draw some attention away from Myles Garrett. I think the culture in Cleveland is headed in the right direction, and JJ just helps that even more. He's a born leader. He can help someone like Myles Garrett go to the next level, who has all the talent but maybe doesn't have someone to show him the way, show him the ropes, etc. And so I think that Cleveland is both a fit from both perspectives for JJ Watt, for the Watt family, for the Cleveland Browns, etc. And so I think that will be the best move for them. And I think the Browns can get him slightly on the cheap. I think they have some cap room currently right now, but are probably going to get some more. They're probably going to move off of Odell Beckham Jr. sometime this offseason. And so they're likely to have more than enough room to sign.
Trade it for picks so they can clear up the cap?
Probably. I think that happens before the draft or during the draft. And so I easily see them signing JJ Watt before training camp and hoping they can get a couple good years left out of him.
Okay, if you think that they'll trade Odell but not take players back so they can kind of get back under the cap, I can see that. Because think about it. He's made a lot of money, but
he wants to win.
He wants to win. And I think that he's going to make a career move for a ring, which is why, for me, the options that made the most sense for him were the Bucs and the Packers. But I'm saying it's the Bucs.
Okay.
Right? The Bucs are in the driver's seat and they have the best pitch to JJ Watt. Imagine winning a chip on a D-line where you can never be double teamed. Ever. And getting to play with the GOAT. Tom Brady. Look, the Bucs have that D-line and a lot of... Are you rolling your eyes at the GOAT thing again?
Keep going.
Make your JJ Watt has called him the GOAT. So it doesn't even matter what you think.
I didn't even say anything. Just make your argument.
This is why we're on video, because you like non-verbal shade, nigga.
It's the best kind.
Okay, so don't be like, I ain't say anything when you rolling your eyes, you doing all this shit.
I'm being very literal. I didn't say anything. But please, continue.
This makes the most sense for the Bucs because between Shaq Barrett, Sue, and Levante David, they're going to have to let go of one of those people. Like, they can only tag one of them. They have to pay all 3 of them. They are all going to be upcoming agents. So I think the idea is you can let one of those people go and get JJ Watt for significantly cheaper, especially if he's interested in taking a pay cut to be one of the cogs on this line that keep it running. And it's not like a super steep pay cut, right? There are only 9 teams in the NFL that have more cap room than the Bucs right now. So the Bucs are actually way more positioned than most people to pay him, and the Bucs have like top 5 cap space the following year. So it's like you can structure his deal kind of weird, like 2 years, backload a lot of your money, big signing bonus up front, Mm-hmm. And I think it makes the most sense for him to be able to get a ring, i.e., look, the Browns were great last year. The Browns won a playoff game last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I'm willing to say Baker Mayfield is taking me to the promised land.
They are on the rise.
I agree,
on the rise.
But it's not about just having a winning season. He's had many winning seasons. It's not just about winning a playoff game. He's won a couple playoff games. It's about putting a ring on your finger, mm-hmm. hosting that Lombardi trophy in the air, maybe throwing it off a boat so some white bitch can cry about it. I'm not willing to say Baker Mayfield is the guy to take me there. Tom Brady, though. He's done it 7 times. At this point, he's Shit, he's done it more times than J.J. Watt has played 16 games in a season.
Oh, that happened a long time ago. I see the calculus. I'm not sure it happens. The Bucks just seem like they have a lot going on already as far as their locker room goes. It seems like it went, for the most part, well last season. I don't know that you can necessarily throw in some more spices and shit and make it go better next season. Brady's going to be a year older.
How many times have people said that?
Maybe Watt wants to be with someone younger so he has more shots at it than being with the Bucks.
Well, I don't think he's going to sign a long-term deal.
Well, I don't think he signs a long-term deal, but maybe he thinks he can sign consecutive short-term deals and hang around. I think Bucks are hot. I think they're going to be a hot destination for a lot of people,
to take it on the cheap.
Which is going to make it harder for him because even though he's available, let's say that someone equally as talented at this point or slightly better is willing to take the same amount of money. If I'm the Bucks, I don't sign Watt.
There are not many people. That is a very small list of people.
But it could happen.
It's almost non-existent because most of the people that you're thinking of with that level of talent have not made the money JJ has made.
They have not.
So that's the thing. So like you're like taking a pay cut. Most of the people that you're thinking about with JJ Watt level talent, even like 2022 JJ Watt level talent, are people that are significantly younger and have not made the money that they need to make. That's the problem with someone like Levante David or Chris Godwin that the Bucks currently have, is like they haven't gotten that deal yet. They ain't cashed it big yet. So it's hard to get that person that ain't never cashed it big to take less money.
I could also easily see surprise cuts happening for teams to get under the cap, so more guys coming available than there are right now. There are a lot of teams over the cap. A ton, because the cap is not going to increase as it normally does. And so I could easily see that list of D linemen who are maybe a little bit older, who have made some money, being cut, expanding as the offseason progresses. Of course, we don't know yet. It's mid-February, but as we get closer to the draft, they'll start making some of those moves. We saw even we see all the time, guys retire the week of the draft or right after the draft if they get the replacement. And so I think he could be boxed out of Tampa and also see Cleveland as a rising talent that gives them some hope, at least hope. And so he goes there.
I still say he'd go to the Packers in that situation. Granted, the Packers have like no fucking money.
Never.
Like no fucking money. But like.
And would he get along with Aaron Rodgers?
I think they actually get along. He's also a home, that's like his hometown-ish area. He went to Wisconsin.
Yeah, he did.
Was a Badger. So
I'm not saying the team or community wouldn't love him. I'm questioning, would some of Aaron Rodgers' ego and the way he treats his teammates rub J.J. Watt, the superb character guy, the wrong way, and then possibly have a conflict in the locker room? Because I could see that happening. Aaron Rodgers, a lot of people don't like Aaron Rodgers, including his family. So you can't tell me that he might not rub J.J. Watt the wrong way.
Yes, his family. Look, Aaron Rodgers and
a lot of his former receivers don't speak very highly of him.
I think a lot of his former receivers don't speak highly of him because everybody has always been like, Aaron Rodgers is so talented. Why are all y'all niggas trash? And Aaron Rodgers also plays favorites.
He plays favorites, but he says that same thing to his receivers, basically. He's like, oh, I'm so talented. I put the ball in the right place. You didn't catch it. Why are you trash? Well, and he'll say it to the media, too, and no one likes that. That's not being a good teammate.
Sometimes that ball is in the right place, and they did not catch it.
But even if that's true as the quarterback, and this is the same problem Big Ben has, you can't say that. It's about, just like, we did competitive stuff. We did debate. Do you blame your partner after a loss? Like, to their face? In most situations.
If they make a mistake, yes. But if you are not upfront with a person that is making those type of mistakes, whatever they may be, you won't get those type of mistakes
I'm not
fixed.
saying don't be upfront and don't fix the mistakes. I'm saying, did you get on Facebook and be like, nah, fam effed up and and he should have done better? And that's what Aaron Rodgers does.
You need to do that. Like, think about Bruce Arians this year. Remember, like, early Bruce Arians was reaming Tom.
But just Tom. And Tom, though, is you do that to the star to get other guys in check. That's a common strategy among coaches. And Tom is on the back end reinforcing the good message. He's playing good cop and apparently texting his teammates every morning at 5:30, we're going to win Super Bowl. And so if you see Tom getting chewed out and he still feels like that, then you're like, well, I can't complain about anything. That's a common thing. But the star player criticizing other players, I think is too far. And so I think that I could easily see him not going to Green Bay because I'm not sure that him and Aaron would get along. I'm sure he would talk to guys who's played with Aaron or coaches who coach Aaron and hear things. Because if there's enough for us to hear these things all the time from honor personalities, then there are certainly a lot more whispers going on about Aaron Rodgers in the background than we are aware of. That's all I'm saying. So I think the Bucs are a better play in that case compared to the Packers. I'm saying the Browns.
I just don't think you can convince yourself to go to Cleveland and think you're ring chasing. like that's the thing. I don't think you can convince yourself you're ring chasing in Cleveland.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe that he convinces himself he's not ring chasing, but helping that team get better to get a ring. And I think for some guys, that's a distinction that makes a difference.
Not in Cleveland, nigga. Maybe in Tennessee. Maybe in Baltimore.
You don't know what JJ thinks.
Maybe in Kansas City.
It's definitely better than Houston.
I mean, that's why that nigga's not there no more.
So, I mean, Cleveland's my fly route.
All right.
And I'm sticking to it.
All right.
What's up, Playboy?
Let's get into a little game we like to call here Tag You Are It. Look, this week opened up the franchise tag and the transition tags for teams. A lot of teams are dealing with cap issues, so I think we're going to see a lot of tags happening this season. We're going to play a game where we think about some of the major upcoming free agents and whether or not they're going to be tagged. I'm going to let you have the first one, DeMarcus, because we're going to talk about this almost every single week. Dakota Prescott.
Tag him. He's it. I am not saying that they will have to tag him. They have until March 9th, I believe at like 4 p.m. or some arbitrary time to work out a deal, a long-term contract. If they don't get it done, he will be tagged. There is no way the Cowboys let him walk out the door. He is too good. There's no one better. And if you're gonna pay him $37 million this year and you paid him $32 million or whatever it was last year, why not give him a long-term deal? And I'll say this really quickly because this is usually how people structure long-term deals, which is what he and his agent wanted from the jump. They're like, if you tag him, this is the first year. If you tag him again, this is the second year. And those are the basis for the first 2 years of your contract. They usually take that total amount, turn a big chunk into a signing bonus, and then do the rest as your salary. And basically, Dak wanted 4 years like that. He wanted 4 years, 150-ish. So that's 30 plus a year, probably like 35 a year with a signing bonus. That they're basically going to give him half of that if they tag him twice. And so you might as well sign him because that helps you cap-wise more than anything else. So I hope and I pray to God they'll get a deal done. I really do. They are stupid not to have had a deal done the year before his contract expired.
Or two. Like
he should have got signed early.
How cheap they could have signed
if they had
Dak
gone to him
2
in
years
2018
early.
And said, we'll give you $130 million guaranteed after his second year or third year, whenever he can renegotiate, he would take that. But no, it said they paid Jalen Smith, who's not looked as great. They played DeMarcus Lawrence, who's not looked as great. They played Ezekiel Elliott.
Early.
Way early and super long term. And so they paid the wrong guys first. You pay your quarterback first. You can not have a D-line, you could be just fine. You could not have a great running back, you could be just fine. But if you don't have a quarterback, you are trash, even if the rest of your team is amazing.
And they could have spread the cap hit.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have a player from your city. You're actually repping some of their gear right now. The Chicago Bears football of the NFC North. You know, they got Allen Robinson, who's going to be a free agent this offseason. Should he be tagged?
We are going to tag the fuck out this nigga. Like, he knows it. I know it. We are going to tag the fuck out this nigga. Even if we don't keep him, we will tag and trade him. There's no way, similar to Dak, there's no way he walks out the door. He's our best receiver by far. And there are way too many other issues in flux. I have no idea why we won't sign him to a long-term deal. Like, there hasn't been like any leaks like Dak. Like, he wants more money. He wants more years. He wants less years. They've just been like, yeah, nah, bro, we'll talk to you later.
Later is now.
And
Literally now.
And later is why he's tagged.
Yeah, this situation, he's a great receiver. On a team with a better quarterback, he gets more recognition for being good.
He still put up like several 1,000-yard seasons.
Oh, I'm saying that's the thing. He is that good with Mitchell Trubisky as quarterback, who basically can't. I can run an offense better than he can.
No, you can't.
You've never.
Literally, no, you can't.
Whatever.
I'm just saying. Like, I feel like Mitchell Trubisky might be the guy that kind of goes Ryan Tannehill on people.
You have way more faith in him than most people do.
It's not like he can't play football.
He fine at football, just not great at the quarterback thing. There's the distinction.
It's like, I think he is more Lamar Jackson than he is Patrick Mahomes, and people have been trying to make him look more Patrick Mahomes.
Now he's a genius. He can figure it out.
Or even like he's more Josh Allen than Patrick Mahomes. If like 2 years ago you saw what Josh Allen was doing with his legs, etc. It's like we just don't give him the opportunity to do that as much. However, like he's gone, so I have no skin in the game.
Let's go back to the team you're really high on still from their Super Bowl win, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Chris Godwin. Tag or no tag? No
tag backs. He's not getting tagged. He cannot get tagged because I think they're going to have to use their tag somewhere else. Which is just like, it is what it is. You have AB. You can keep him for pretty cheap. You have Mike Evans. Scotty Miller looks fine. You still have Gronk. OJ Howard comes back from injury. It's just like, and a team that needs to keep so many free agents, wideout is not the position that they need the tag at.
It helps have that depth, but yeah, they need help at other places.
Yeah.
So one more for you. We're going to go to Shaq Barrett. Tag or no tag?
Shaq Barrett is probably going to be the one that gets the tag for them. Like, I think that they will tag Shaq Barrett instead of Chris Godwin because they want to keep that defense together. And I think while they have fantastic defensive players, that is production that's going to be very hard for them to make up. And that is kind of the difficult spot they'll find themselves in. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. All right, I got one for you.
Hit me.
Curtis Samuel with the Panthers.
That's interesting. It depends, and I think no. The Panthers are in a kind of odd position right now. They have pieces like Christian McCaffrey, who is fantastic, who can, on his own, almost carry a team. He was hurt almost all of last season. The year before, with mix of quarterbacks, they were 8-8, I think, that year. They bring in Matt Rule. They weren't terrible or 6 and were they 6-10?
I'd say I was just kind of shook if they fired Ron Rivera after an 8-8 season.
Oh, I wouldn't have been, but I think they were like 6-10, somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay.
So, few games away from being on the cusp of it, the playoffs, but playing a tough division and a tough conference, etc. But they had not gotten it done. But I don't think they do it. They have precarious position to be in. I think at this point it makes more sense for the Panthers to try to be bad for a little while, like actually just be bad, as opposed to tagging him, paying him, etc. McCaffrey is going to be his third year. He's a freaking fantastic talent. So they have to decide if they're going to pay him long term, because if you do it, you probably want to do it a little bit early, because apparently paying running backs became a thing in vogue, whether or not it was the right decision again.
Is it?
It was. And I think they'll convince themselves, well...
It was only in vogue for the Cowboys.
Oh, no. No. I don't mean that. I mean, a lot of players got big deals. I'm not saying they worked out. Le'Veon got his deal from the Jets. Zeke got his deal at the time.
Both of those teams regret those deals.
Saquon Barkley's going to get his deal, and it's going to influence the Panthers. And so I think they see that being their true future to spend their money on. The cap's going to be decreasing. Bridgewater's not the answer at quarterback. I don't think they tag Samuel. I think they say, save your money, because the NFL now allows them to roll cap over to the next season. So I think they say, save the money, let him go. We'll get a compensatory draft pick back for losing him in free agency, and we'll be a better team by building assets in the long term. And so I say no tag.
Okay. Let's talk Kenny Galladay.
This is a little bit. They should tag him. I don't think they will. They're a badly run team. Listen,
that's Detroit.
They traded for Jared Goff. They gave up a decent amount, but not too much to get him. But I believe he comes with a big cap hit this year. He's on a huge deal. The Lions just signed, I believe, that they have a new head coach, right? I can't think of his name.
Yes, they do.
We talked about this.
Oh, man. I can't remember his name, but I do remember he was talking about biting people's kneecaps and shins off in his opening presser.
Yeah. So, based on what I can't remember the guy's name, but based on what I remember about him, I don't think he's the kind of throw it around kind of guy, and I'm not sure that Jared Goff is that guy to do that. And so,
I mean, every team needs a wideout one if you're gonna win games.
Do they think they're gonna win games?
I would hope so.
Well, I mean, every team in the offseason convinces themselves, but there's some realist in the building who has to make the call. Kenny Galladay is a great talent. He is sometimes, though, up and down during the season. He can have huge games, 6-7 catches, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then really quiet games, 2-3 catches, 40 yards, and no touchdowns. And so the inconsistent production was a problem. I'm not sure what the reason for that was. I don't watch full length Lions games very often, not even on Thanksgiving. And so it'd be hard to pinpoint what the reason for that is. I don't think it was Matt Stafford though. And so Jared Goff is not, I think it's clear, no one thinks he's as good as Matt Stafford, but based on the trade deal. And so I am not sure that the coach wants to sling it around. And so I think the coach can convince them not to sign him to the tag. But I think just on pure talent, he should be tagged.
All right, Shaq Griffin.
No, not good enough. Just period, not good enough. In my opinion, I think the Seahawks, I believe, have lots of other concerns.
Their defense is
bad. Exactly. They need the money to spend in other places. They have lots of other concerns. They got to protect Russ better. So they can't spend tag money on him. If they can get him to a deal, that'd be nice, but they should not tag him. No.
Okay. I got one more for you here. Taylor Moton.
That's the tackle for, is it the Panthers? Can't remember. Yeah, but he's an offensive lineman. I say tag. He's probably one of the more under the radar names to be tagged, given he plays in the trenches. But super talented player, plays a very, very important position on the field. Whether or not the team, short-term, long-term, doing well, you want that player around because even if your team's not doing well, he's a great trade asset. People need good offensive linemen all the time. We just literally talked about how the Seahawks need some offensive linemen right now, and so I think he gets tagged.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's shift a little bit. Let's go back to Green Bay, your division. Aaron Jones.
Oh, he's getting tagged. He is definitely getting tagged, and I think they're going to give him the transition tag only because it's weird. That's why I'm like, running backs don't really get paid. Man, I'm telling you, because the tag for Aaron Jones is only $8 million.
Yeah, it's the average whatever. But really quickly, do you want to explain the difference between the transition and the traditional tag for some people who may not know?
So the traditional tag does not allow you to talk to other teams at all. The transition tag would allow you to talk to other teams, but it will give your team the first right of refusal, basically, to whatever deal that you were offered. And I think the other difference is the franchise tag is the top 3 players averaged out in their salary at your position, and the transition is the top 5. So the transition tag is usually cheaper, but it also allows the other people to bid and created more of a war. But I think there's just like no way for them to let Aaron Jones go after all the shit Rodgers stirred up, right? And he was stirring up that shit for this particular purpose and issue. Is that like he is tired of losing great talent in free agency because they don't want to pay them in Green Bay.
The Fly Route Pod. The Fly Route Pod.
Welcome to the final segment of our show, the heart of our show, Ballers Bouquets. Too often in the media, people only want to focus on the negative and salacious things athletes do and never want to give them their credit where credit is due. Here, we like to make a change.
Right. So for this week's Ballers Bouquet, we're going to stay close to home. So as we've all let you know over the past episodes, we live and record this podcast in Dallas, Texas. Texas was hit hard, as well as most of the middle of the U.S., by a polar vortex that had temperatures in most of the U.S. at least 20 and up to 40 degrees lower than they are normally. And I want all of our viewers, even those who may live in different countries or parts of our country in the north, to understand that we're not built for this. Things in our area are just not made for this kind of cold and snow and ice.
Nothing is winterized?
Nothing is winterized.
There's no infrastructure?
Not for this. Not for 6 degrees.
There's no plows? There's no salt trucks?
We put out sand, not salt.
And that is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I digress. But Texas is hard hit last week by a snowstorm from about Sunday to Saturday, essentially. We were stuck at home. So Valentine's Day all the way to Saturday, when we finally got up well over freezing and things started to thaw out. But basically, between that time period, it was cold. The cold caused lots of problems because our power plants weren't winterized or weatherized or whatever word you want to put in there. So they literally shut down things like the gauges on natural gas lines freezing, etc. And so people didn't have power. So the agency that runs Texas Power Plant put us on quote unquote rolling blackouts. They were not rolling for most of us. We didn't know when we would lose power or get it back. Typically you would not have power for, let's say, 4, 5, 6 hours, and then you'd get it back for like an hour and a half. And at least for us in this area, some people just didn't have power for 3, 4, 5 days at a time. And our homes are not insulated for the cold. So when that happens, number one, people inside get cold. Your pipes freeze.
And burst.
And will eventually burst. And when that melts, your entire space is ruined. People were not able to cook hot meals, take showers, have clean drinking water, because many of our cities had to issue boil warnings or there was no water at all for people to even get out of the faucet. So it was really, really hard, really rough. We're not built for this. People made fun of Texans a lot on social media. And I think that's a little ridiculous.
That hurt you?
Because, I'm not going to say it's hurt. I'm going to say that it's inaccurate. And if it were flipped, we'd be called rude. Because if we made fun of people in Boston for complaining about 85-degree weather, they'd be like, oh, you don't understand. We're not built for this. We don't have air conditioners. And it's the same exact argument, but in reverse. For us, we're not prepared for these kind of winters. Texas usually has mild winters. We maybe have a few days that are actually below freezing, but not very many. And so to have weather that is in the single digits or below zero at night and have pipes burst and no power we're not built for that.
People don't have air conditioners in Boston?
No. In a lot of northern cities, especially on the East Coast, older cities, they don't have, like Philadelphia, Boston, a lot of places in New York, they don't have central air conditioning. At most, some places have window units. And so when the temperature gets above 85, 90, 100, those are not good enough to keep up with cooling people down enough not to have like heat strokes. So, yes, real thing. Northerners don't do heat. Southerners don't do cold. We do what we do.
I'm lucky to be from the Midwest.
Right.
We're just both. Prepared.
You just do both.
Who would have thought?
That little backstory is important to kind of establish the situation, the both severity and the magnitude of what's going on in Texas and what's still happening. People are still recovering. I know, for example, part of my family still doesn't have water at all. In this case, it's not because of the city, but because there are so many burst pipes in their apartment community that they just have not been able to get the parts and plumbers to fix. They can't turn their water on yet. And so people all over Texas still need to go to food banks to get food, water stations, all kinds of things to do the basic necessities. And so for this week's Ballers Bouquet, we're going to start this week and over the next few weeks pointing out and calling out and giving praise to players who are in the NFL and NBA who dedicated their time, money, and resources to helping the people of Texas recover from this emergency, this winter weather crisis. And we're going to start this week in Houston, H-Town, the largest city in Texas. And we're going to start with two players who helped provide over 13,000 meals and thousands of bottles of water to Houstonians. And this week's Ballers Bouquet is going to be shared between both James Harden and Pierre Desir. So I think it's important to point out the difference between these two players. So many of us are familiar with James Harden. He spent the better part of the last 9 NBA seasons as the star player for the Houston Rockets. He frequents some nighttime establishments in Houston quite frequently and is very generous with his money. Always has been. I'm making fun of him, but really James is a great guy from everything that I've been able to find both this week and in the past about his efforts to help the city of Houston. James, as we know, if you keep up with the game, got traded to the Brooklyn Nets the start of this season and has been playing there for a while and playing quite well, actually. But James feels that Houston is home. He spent so much time there, got to know the people there, etc. And he posted on his Instagram essentially a quote that said, you know, the people of Houston were good to me. I've been on the phones all day trying to help in any way that I can because that place is home to me. And so that is James. That's one player. We know him, real popular, familiar, etc. The connection is clear. But then we have this other player who's helping Houston with food, water, etc. Pierre Desir. You know who this guy is?
No idea.
Never heard of him. But he's a great guy. He's an NFL player. He's 30 years old. He's a cornerback. He's 7 years in the league. He's currently a free agent, so he's not even on a team right now. And he donated 10,000 meals to the Houston Food Bank. And you're like, okay, that's interesting. Who is this guy, though? So Pierre has absolutely no connection to Houston whatsoever. No family there, didn't play there, didn't grow up there, nothing. He literally saw a crisis happening and just said, I felt like it was the right thing to do. Period. And so for him, there is no connection. But I wanted to do both of these players together to draw the kind of contrast that you can give back to people who you both know in your neighborhood, in your city, and you share common things with, and people who are total strangers. And sometimes people end up just getting more help. And so for this, you know, James himself donated, I believe it was 3,000 meals through his restaurant in Houston, his newly opened restaurant called 13. And he was helped by, I believe the group is called
The Relief Gang.
The Relief Gang, which is an organization founded by Trey the Truth and I believe it's DJ Mr. Rogers. And I was interesting. I did not know that Trey the Truth had a foundation in Houston, which is surprising. If you listen to rap, you listen to Houston rap in particular, you know who that is. But kind of surprising that not only that he has a charity, but that he teamed up with James Harden through James's restaurant. They donated 3,000 meals. They had essentially a call out on James's Instagram where they would either deliver the meals or people can come pick them up. And that was, I believe, Tuesday or Wednesday, the kind of beginning/middle of the snowpocalypse crisis.
That was like the first couple of days where people had like no power. Like
Right.
It started on like Sunday night. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's not the only thing James did for this crisis. So Thursday, James put out a call on his, I believe, Instagram story for a water station that he was hosting for people to come pick up bottled water. Like I said, people still don't have drinking water, bath water, any of that. So he also put out a call to donate bottled water. I'm not sure exactly how many were donated, but I know it was open for several hours. So I have to imagine there were hundreds of people who were helped and aided by James's efforts on this. So huge shout out to both James and Pierre for their generosity for the city of Houston and for our fellow Texans. But I want to shine some more praise on these guys to really illustrate how good they are. So Pierre is a 2-time nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. He previously was nominated, I believe, for donating over $150,000 to a local organization while he played in Indianapolis. James Harden himself has given several times in the past. He helped, I believe, give over $1 million during Hurricane Harvey relief. In 2017, James donated, I believe, $250,000 to have basketball courts in Houston restored, etc. And so these guys, and those are not the only things they've done, not at all whatsoever. Those are just 2 examples. And so these guys are doing amazing, excellent work. Want to give them a huge shout out. For those at home, our listeners, and especially those who either in Texas who weren't impacted or in other parts of our country who are able to help, please reach out and help. You can donate to all the local food banks in the major cities. So the Houston Food Bank, Dallas Food Bank, Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio, etc. You can donate to organizations like the Red Cross, who are helping provide emergency relief for families right now in Texas. And if you need other ideas, or for some reason you want other organizations that are a little bit more targeted, we're going to be sharing out tweets once this drops every couple of hours with a different organization you can donate to help the Texas recovery effort after our dangerous, hellacious, deadly winter storms where over 36 people died, some of them basically freezing to death in their homes because of the lack of power. And so this is a huge emergency that happened. Lots of other people are doing things. We saw AOC raise over $5 million for Texas. Former senatorial candidate Beto O'Rourke helped have a phone bank to call elderly to get them to warming stations, etc. So lots of people are pouring out help, but I can tell you there are lots of people in Texas who are still hurting and who need help. And so all the more help is going to be needed. And that's this week's Ballers Bouquet. And so we hope you enjoyed that. If you want to give, please look out for those tweets. Remember to follow us at the Fly Route Pod on Twitter.
The Fly Route Pod. The Fly Route Pod. The Fly Route Pod. The Fly Route Pod.
All right, that is it for episode 24 of the Fly Route Podcast. As always, we want to thank all of you all for listening and taking the time out of your day to rock with us. But first and foremost, stop whatever the fuck you're doing right now and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is the Fly Route Pod on YouTube. You search it, you'll find it. Hit the fucking notification bell too so you get our updates and you don't miss any of the brand new content that we are bringing you all. We appreciate each and every single one of you, and we can't wait to rock with you again next Friday.
Absolutely. And it's so important to hit that notification bell because we both publish a long video of our full podcast on YouTube where you can watch during your workout or your commute if you're still, going into work. Or if you just have a short break at home, we also share short clips so you can have some of the best moments from the Fly Route Pod this week in your pocket very easily. So please make sure to follow and hit that notification bell so you can always be alerted when there are new videos out. We'll see you next week.
The Fly Route Pod. The Fly Route Pod. The Fly Route Pod. The Fly Route Pod.
We want to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to listen to this video. Did you know that this video is part of a larger Fly Route podcast? Look us up wherever you watch podcasts. We are on Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere. Take the time, subscribe. We appreciate you.
While we have you here, don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit the notification bell. Otherwise, you will miss some of our YouTube videos. That's just the way YouTube works. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the Fly Route Pod.